Okay, the appointed hour has arrived. It is 6:30 in the evening, and we're going to begin our special meeting of the City of South San Francisco City Council for this Tuesday, June the 14th. And we're going to start the meeting by noting the council members present in the hall, different from a standard roll call. But for this special meeting, we'd like to make note that Vice Mayor Dr. Pradeep Gupta is here in the audience. Carol Matsumoto and immediate former Mayor Richard Garbarino are standing in the middle of the hall. And Liza Normandy has joined us and is in the middle of the hall. So I wanted to thank them for joining me this evening for the State of the City Address. This is a unique opportunity. In the past, the State of the City Address was normally a luncheon, noontime event, but we very much, in the spirit of what's happening in South San Francisco, the generosity of the citizens in regards to Measure W, we definitely wanted to share with the residents where we are as a community. We think that you're going to be very excited. I noticed there was palpable excitement in the hall, the entrance hall where all the displays are, and I hope I can keep some excitement in this hall for the next 20 or 30 minutes. So we'll move on now. It is my hope that if you have comments or questions that you will be able to direct them to the department heads and their assembled staff that are at the different stations. But there is a portion of every meeting where if a member of the public wishes to speak, they're limited to items on the agenda. So if anyone would like to speak on the state of the city or a Measure W town hall meeting, they could approach now and speak. And if not, we really do encourage you to interface with the department heads and their staffs on anything that's of concern to you. And so now I'd like to invite Ginny Tilton, a good family friend, to come up and lead us. Today is Flag Day, so lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jenny. And we'd like to make special note, South San Francisco has come a long way. This is actually being televised for citizens that aren't able to come to the meeting. And also Rick Owens is here with us to provide the sign language for those who will benefit from that. And also at this particular meeting, Inez and Anita Palafax from City Hall are doing translations in Spanish, so there is the availability of the mechanism to hear the translation if Spanish is a better language for you. You know, this is kind of a symbolic meeting. We gather together for this State of the City, and this is really the best of American democracy. You know, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, singing the Star-Spangled Banner, are our way of paying tribute to those who have come before our country's independence and the democracy that's so important to us. It was on this day, June the 14th. You know, I normally talk about the 1980s, but this time, tonight, we're going to go back 200 more years. On this date, 239 years ago, the Continental Congress in Philadelphia gathered and adopted the Stars and Stripes as the national flag. So this Flag Day, we are remembering when John Adams spoke the following words before the Continental Congress in Philadelphia resolved that the flag of the 13 United States shall be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white on the blue field, representing a new constellation. They were much better with the language back then. It's democracy that brings us together tonight. We are here to, first of all, share with you the many exciting things that are happening in South San Francisco. But we're also here to hear from you, to listen to you, to understand your concerns, what is important to you, and answer the questions that you may have. It's very important to us that we keep the community apprised because so much is happening. So that feedback, especially on Measure W, is very important. If you have comments or questions on this speech, you can certainly ask me also. We're living in South San Francisco at a very exciting and pivotal time, a spectacular moment in our history. Over the next 5 years, several projects are going to go forward that will greatly enhance our city for many years to come. If you were to go to the other side of town, east of 101, where there are currently over 11 million square feet of research and development space for our very important biotechnology industry, in the next few years it will be joined by additional development which will add an extra 6 million square feet of biotech space. Revitalization of our downtown. I'm going to reference now back in the 80s, because in the 80s when we revitalized downtown, it was street lamps and crosswalks and sidewalks, but that really didn't revitalize the economics of downtown. But what we're finding now with the new commercial and the potential for the new residents is that we really are creating a dynamic and vibrant downtown. With that, construction of a new train station, $55 million worth of investment, which would truly make a train station that is more functional and accessible to citizens on both the east and west side of the train tracks. A new $150 million civic campus is going to be the discussion that Mike Futrell will lead tonight, and that will be just across the way, across El Camino Real. And we're going to talk more about that later in the evening, but it's in the geographic heart of South San Francisco, and it's really going to change the way people access the government services. There are more than 2,000 new housing units citywide, and while there certainly is the need, 2,000 units give some people pause, but we need to note that these are cycles. There haven't been any significant rental housing built in South San Francisco since 1984 or 85. So these cycles come and go. We're on the upturn of the cycle, and that's why there's so much interest in housing. There's going to be a new lifestyle center at the south end of town. Centennial Village is going to be both shopping experiences, the much awaited and improved Safeway shopping center, and with that some residential housing to create a very vibrant corner as you enter South San Francisco from San Bruno. There's a very exciting mixed-use development that has the ability to transform the Oyster Point, the marina area, from kind of a forgotten zone to really a destination point. And that's been a dream for many years by many people in the community. I'm going to talk more about those changes later. I wanted to let all of you know that while this new development does bring a lot of change, and that's cause for concern, South San Francisco, as evidenced by this evening, remains a very tight-knit community. And we enjoy our multi-generational families as much as we enjoy the new people that are becoming members of our community. You know, South San Francisco has a truly unique tradition and culture and heritage that is really unmatched by any towns on the peninsula. We want to keep that spirit of the past. South San Francisco has made wonderful transformations from cattle days to heavy industry and now to biotechnology to the sciences. We look forward to and embrace our future as a community. In order to look forward to the future, I wanted to share this evening a little bit about the city's financial structure. This is important to me because in this room I think we have some pretty sophisticated citizenry, but generally people don't understand the dollars and cents of how government works. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you this evening. The financial structure and the decisions that we make to ensure that we remain financially sound, not just for this current time and our needs, but more importantly for future generations. And that's been a gift that we've been given as a community from past generations that have left us in a spectacular position to maximize our potential. We want to ensure that South San Francisco remains a most desirable place to live, to work, to play, and to learn. So how do we function, or where do we get our money from? So a lot of you are homeowners, and you understand the taxation method. So 65% of the city's general fund comes from taxes. And the main revenue sources would be the property tax on both your home and commercial properties. The sales tax, which you have very generously entrusted your government with an additional ½ cent on the dollar. And then the transit occupancy tax, which is commonly called the hotel tax. And that comprises roughly 2/3 of all the revenues that come in. So talking about property tax, I can remember a time, I was very young, but I remember a time in the 70s where there were contentious council meetings when they were setting the tax rate. Well, of course, because how would they spend that money and what would it cost you that year on your property tax? So while there are many downsides to Prop 13, as far as the fairness quotient, where new residents have to pay so very much compared to people who have lived their homes and they receive the same services, as a council person, it makes life a little easier not to have to set that tax rate. I remember some pretty contentious meetings. So the property tax is the value of land and buildings, and it's a 1% on the assessed value for the most part. In the first quarter of 2016, the median sales price, now if you're a homeowner, you're going to love this, I think. The median sales price in South San Francisco was $852,000. When my family arrived from San Francisco in the 50s, the home was $11,500. A property owner with a home valued at $852,000, that median price, who's new to the community, on their tax bill, they're going to pay that 1%, so $8,520 is the assessed valuation. The city of South San Francisco is going to only receive a portion of that. So we're going to receive a small percentage, 17 to 18%, and about $1,500. But others benefit, and it's important for us to note that the county government receives a fair share, but they provide services that the city doesn't. They provide the healthcare system, they provide the courts, they provide the sheriff's department. So a lot of the social services are provided by county government. And then most important, you can't be a great community without great schools. And so a large percentage, the lion's share of the taxes that you pay on your property tax bill go to schools, the education of our young people. The same property tax is levied across town, so newly constructed biotech development. I think we have a project that we hope is ready to go in the next year or so out at Oyster Point. So it's 500,000 square feet of space, and the tax portion for South San Francisco can be in excess of $200,000. So that's why those type of developments are important to all of us. Let's talk about sales tax, because you, for the most part, 60% of you, 61% of you agreed that the South San Francisco city tax rate should be 9.5%. And it is our intent as a council and as administration not to lose your faith, that every one of those dollars will be precious dollars that we will expend in the manner that will maximize the benefit as far as the facilities and the services that we are able to give additionally to the community. So 1% or 1 cent on the dollar is that standard amount that goes, remember it's called a state sales tax, so 1 cent of the dollar spent goes to the city. And so we've been able to increase that by roughly 50%, thanks to your generosity. The city also, if you did the math, receives between 15 and 16% of the total amount of sales tax that's collected. The third way that South San Francisco collects tax, we call it the TOT, or Transit Occupancy Tax, commonly called the hotels tax. So if you were to visit a community and rent a room, you're going to pay, in the case of South San Francisco, 10% of your hotel bill. What's remarkable in the industry is we are at a high water mark. There are hotels, actually, Jim McGuire is the operator of the Best Western Grosvenor, and he runs quite a spectacular operation, and some of his numbers are in the 97 and 98% occupancy rate. So not only have the room rates gone up, but the occupancy rate is off the chart. And those are dollars that come to us. Certainly there are some services needed, but for the most part, that's a great enhancement for the city of South San Francisco. The travel industry locally is in a boom state. There's robust business and travel for pleasure to the Bay Area, and our proximity to the international airport is obvious. We live with that every day. The downside is we have not been interrupted by an airplane, but we all know about 1:30 in the morning, if you live in the 2-8 gap departure, that's where we earn that hotel tax. We all earn it every evening. But what's happening at the international airport is truly spectacular. They've had 10 successive years where they grow and grow, and last year they posted a 50 million passenger year. We currently have 2,500 hotel rooms, and it's been a very long time since we've had a hotel built. In the near future, we're going to add 500 more rooms, so that's a 20% increase on hotel rooms and that 10% TOT. So another great boom growth factor. There's an AC Marriott, which is a level of hotel that we've not seen previously, that's going to be out on the waterfront near what we call the Cove, the old United States Steel site. And it'll be the Fairfield Inn in the industrial, what we call the east of 101 area, and on Gateway Boulevard, an additional hotel where there already are 3. Now that we've discussed where all this wonderful money comes from and the fact that we're waiting in it down on 400 Grand Avenue, just waiting in money right now, where does it go? We have probably the most spectacular police and fire department with their paramedics on the peninsula, and I know many of you feel that way. We, unlike some communities, we are proud of the men and women that wear the blue uniforms in both departments and provide our emergency services. Thank you. But here's the other side of the coin. They're really expensive. To get the right people, to have the right staffing to address the needs of the city, 55% of the total revenue goes to the emergency services. Not unlike a lot of communities, and it certainly in South San Francisco has proven to be the right thing to do. In addition to that, the Parks and Rec and the library, which you'll hear about more this evening, about 20% of the revenue goes to those services that are enjoyed by the average citizen. And then the rest is between the administrative department and public works. So it's everything from having a police officer and fireman when you have an emergency, to the gentleman that drives by early in the morning sweeping your street. The city continues to be financially sound and responsible. It has been able to produce balanced budgets. Actually, it's mandated to balance the budget. There's no deficit spending when you're in the municipal government. Other levels of government enjoy that, but at their own risk. In order to provide and meet the current and future needs of the city's facilities, notably police, there is a need for additional funding, and we talked about the half cent, and that half cent every year, about $7 million, and that could be growing. Over 30 years is $210 million, so thank you very much for your faith in your government. That's one of the reasons we're gathered here tonight. In short order, we're looking for your feedback on some of our initial discussions and the direction we're going in regards to how we're going to spend the Measure W monies and that community civic campus. We're not calling it the Civic Center yet because Civic Center is still City Hall downtown. But we are creating a new civic campus in the geographic heart of South San Francisco, and we'll be talking about that future campus. While we get ready to do that, I just wanted to share with you a few exciting things, random things that are happening in South San Francisco that the City Council is very proud of as a whole. So our Grand Avenue Library, a gift from Andrew Carnegie in like 1916, he wrote a check for $10,000, and we were able to build a library, that first portion there. Next year, the Carnegie Library in 1917 will be 100 years old. So we thought, what better time to recommit to the generosity of that philanthropist than to, well, more than double down, because it was $10,000 to build it, and it's $2 million to freshen it up. But the world has changed, and it will be fresh. So we're going to have a grand opening in early fall. You'll all get invitations. It's receiving modern upgrades as far as the electrical, data, the internet, and the plumbing infrastructure turned out to be much worse than any of us knew. It's kind of like one of those HGTV programs where you open the walls and there's no good news, and you see the looks on the face. You should have seen the looks on our face when we found out it was accelerating greatly. So the greatest thing is that we're going to try something new in South San Francisco. We're going to have an outdoor programming and reading patio. But we've noted over the years that there's a corner of the lawn area of Civic Center that seems to be conducive to being outdoors, because where we put the patio is where you would see people enjoying the sunshine in a little protected area, having lunch. So we think we have the right corner, and time will tell whether it works. We've added an additional restroom, which was much needed, and there'll be a quiet area for the traditional reading and studying. The remodel will allow the library to meet the growing demand for family programs, and computer access, as well as promote the library collection, emphasizing current topics, homework support. There are so many young people in the downtown area that physically can't get across town after school. And so anyway, we're looking forward to recommitting to our old Carnegie Library, the Grand Avenue Library. Now, another hot topic, and not everybody is in agreement on the direction we're going in, so I'm sure we'll have some spirited conversations after this. As I mentioned earlier, about 2,000 additional residential units, most of them because of the market demand in the rental category, are coming. Three projects that we'd like to point out. There's an old bank on Airport Boulevard near Baden that is now gone, and in its place is a project called Pinafino. It's 69 units. Some studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, rental, 5-story building, and 5 stories may be the new standard. It's consistent with the height of other proposed projects in the downtown area. So the downtown is growing up, literally. The project also includes amenities. There's a courtyard and there's some common areas, so it should be a most livable building. Many of you recall the Lot C4 dealership that greeted you when you drove into town. Well, it was wonderful when it had cars on the lot, and it was generating some economic vibrancy for the community, but that's been a long time ago. I don't think there's a Ford dealer except for Saramonte in San Francisco or most of the peninsula. So this building is about to be demolished, I think, towards the end of the year, and we've agreed to 260 units of housing, but spectacular housing as far as the architectural treatments, and it'll be a wonderful gateway to South San Francisco. I think it'll make you proud to drive into the community from that location. You might have some more competition for space, but you'll be proud as you drive in. Centennial Village, we mentioned before, Centennial Village at Spruce and El Camino Real is potentially, a spectacular addition to that corner of town. Many, many years ago, when the mayor was a hard-working, well, not that he isn't now, but back in the day when I really had to work for my money, it was in the retail environment, and it was in that particular Safeway before it was Safeway, and I, for one, am going to cheer when it gets demolished. Been a very long time. So this project is going to be a mixed-use project, 285 apartments on the El Camino, which is the place to be because of mass transit and the nearness of the San Bruno BART station. 220,000 square feet of retail, so a first-class shopping environment, which will include a Safeway with all the bells and whistles, a Ross Dress for Less, a fitness club, and many small shops and food retailers. So those are the major items, but I really wanted to make a shout out because there's one other project that I think is unique to South San Francisco, and it would be the Rotary Senior Housing Project that's planned for Miller Avenue across from the South San Francisco downtown parking garage. So that is primarily a project that's brought to us by our Rotary Club. So Rotary Plaza has been part of the environment for many decades, and as people grow a little bit older, their personal home can be difficult to maintain, both financially and personally. And this is a wonderful option for someone where they can roll out of their property, have an affordable unit, and be in a social community where there's a lot of support and friendship. I saw that happen many years ago in the 80s, again, with the Magnolia Center, which was a city project, and then next door were the Magnolia Plaza, the senior citizens. And I've visited that community over time. It's as wonderful today as it was when it was built all those years ago. But what's more interesting is when you visit, sometimes you bump into citizens of South San Francisco that have transitioned from their big home in Brentwood to an apartment that works for them and leaves a lot of money in the bank so that they can enjoy life again. So the fact that the Rotary Club has themselves in a position where they personally can put $10 million to a project is just something that needs to be cheered because it's very unique to South San Francisco. So that's 81 units of housing. Beyond housing, we talk incessantly about biotech, so I'll try a little different tack. The Costco Business Center is, the Levitz building has been empty on the 101 for an extreme amount of time. So we're not going to change the sign on the hill from the industrial city to the Costco city, but we'd probably be one of the few communities in California that has 3 Costcos. But this is a Costco business to business where a high percentage, 40 or 50%, is actually goods that are taken from the center to businesses in the area. And you will be able to shop there if they have the product line that you're interested in. But these Costcos generally throw $500,000 into the city economy, besides the ancillary benefits. So to have 3 is very fortunate. To show you the demand in South San Francisco, there was a very large warehouse that formerly had Nippon Express, the airline freight cargo center, and it hasn't been empty for very long, but the Amazon Fulfillment Center, it's a center where things are brought for then the local distribution, so there's stages on how they distribute, but they've already taken that site. So the importance of that is jobs and the diversity for the community. The Fairfield Inn, we mentioned before, at 127 West Harris, deep in the old industrial park, is a new hotel that's on schedule to be completed in mid-2017, next year. So the City Council has had a long commitment to biotech because we know that that's our future economically. And I remember the first time I was able to travel with the council. I think at that time it was Carol Matsumoto and Rich Garbarino and Joe Fernikes. And the 4 of us, I believe, were in Chicago in 2006 for the first convention that I had been able to go to. And we had our own booth. Thanks to the generosity of See's Candies, we had the hook or the bait. We had See's Candy suckers, and they line up for them. They were free, and they have a reputation far and wide. But most of the questions were, are you part of San Francisco? So we were always doing the geography lesson. And why are you here? Why are government leaders here? And we understood the importance of our being there, but certainly the biotech industry, they weren't connecting the dots. Fast forward 10 years to the convention in Moscone last week, the world has changed. It's a very international convention. We started our Sunday by taking tours. On the bus I was with were people from Ghana, people from South Africa, people from Switzerland and Germany, and they were all very interested in South San Francisco. So many people signed up for the trip that there was a large contingent from South Korea, and Samsung also has a biologics division. So in short order, it won't just be appliances and televisions, but it might be the pill you take. And they're very interested in South San Francisco, but to a point we've not seen before. We know our history, but we didn't believe that too many people really understand what the biotech capital of the world, South San Francisco, what that history was. And this group, when they were in the bus, they wanted to stop. There are statues to the 2 original founders of Genentech, were Herb Boyer and Bob Swanson, and there are bronze statues. They wanted to go to those statues and take pictures. They wanted to stop at the corner of Forbes and DNA Way and take a picture of the sign, the DNA Way sign. And then when they found out, Art Levinson used to run Genentech, and he's revered throughout the industry, throughout the world. And when they found out that he was back at work in South San Francisco, they wanted to stop and take a picture of the building he works in. So this is our first experience with biotech groupies. They exist. So biotech, where we are, where we're going. I remember the first time I heard the words Genentech. I was newly elected to the city council, I think it was 1981. Walter Berkalow was the city manager. I was on my way to be educated by Walter Berkalow, something I still do. In fact, today I was being educated by Mike Futrelli. I like to keep track of us. And he mentioned that, I think it was Bob Swanson that had been in. I think he was the money side of it. And he was explaining to Walter Berkalow what the science was. So Walter's remarks to me were that I really don't understand what their science is, but I think there might be some potential. I think we're going to accommodate them and help them grow. And how prophetic were those words before any of us had any idea that that was going to be the premier industry. So thank you, Walter Berkalow. Moving along, a spectacular time for South San Francisco. So down in Mountain View, they are fortunate to have Google and so many other social media. But they haven't been too kind to some of their large employers. So Google or Alphabet, whichever one they are now, made the decision that they would move their life sciences, their Google Life Sciences, what they call Verily, to a campus on East Grand Avenue where the former Onyx Pharmaceuticals are. And that just brings up the profile for South San Francisco tremendously. They are also a spectacular corporate partner, as you heard, so we're looking forward to a lot of collaboration between Verily and the South San Francisco community. So they're going to arrive towards the end of the year with 400 employees, but they're taking a building that ultimately could have up to 1,000 people working there. Genesis, formerly called Centennial Towers. That's what greets you when you come in from San Francisco on the right side as you're traveling south against San Bruno Mountain. That spectacular architectural building that was originally going to be offices. And then when the market went crazy, they decided the next building might be condos. And then out of Southern California came a company called Phase 3. Phase 3 is a developer that looked at that and thought, we can do mid-range biotech there. What we have in South San Francisco are incubator spaces. So if you are a young person with an idea and you have 3 friends, you can start a company and share space. If you get past that point where you actually have something that you might be able to manufacture and bring to market, you need to grow rapidly. And this will be the opportunity for these small companies to stay with South San Francisco and grow. Ultimately, this is going to be joined, the building that's there, the building that looks smaller is actually a 21-story building, but don't fret, it's really more in Brisbane than it is in South San Francisco, except for the tax dollars. And then finally, we mentioned Oyster Point and the development out there. So in recent years, we had an agreement, a development agreement with SKS, a small firm out of San Francisco, and their partner, the Shorenstein Company, which is, you follow real estate in the Bay Area, Shorenstein is a very big deal. But we were afraid that it would be the last to the table, and there are some monies that were set aside when we had redevelopment, $30 million. And if we didn't spend those on infrastructure improvements by a date certain, those dollars would have to be released to all the other taxing agencies. And we were somewhat concerned that there wasn't the commitment to the timely development that we've now received from a new partner, Greenland USA, which is the Greenland company is based in Shanghai. The great part about that is, as you know, the Chinese have all the money, but they're willing to invest it in South San Francisco. So that again gets us on that international scale, which is quite spectacular. So the initial phase will be 500,000 square feet of biotech space, which earlier in the talk I mentioned was going to generate at least $212,000 a year in additional tax. So the project is actually entitled for up to 2.25 million square feet of development space. So in summary, South San Francisco is certainly at a very special time in its history. It's an extremely successful community, and I can't tell you how proud I am to be your mayor, whether I'm on Grand Avenue, Baden Avenue, or in San Francisco meeting people from other parts of the world. You know, 201, our city council has made a tremendous commitment, especially this last convention time. Every member of the city council participated. So we were able to have multiple what we call partnering sessions where we're meeting people that are really looking to do business on some level in South San Francisco, to be part of this science environment, which was characterized by a gentleman from Genentech, Dr. Sabri, as a place that has unusually good science in compared to other areas in the nation and the world. So there's something magical happening east of 101, and we just want to make sure we maximize that. I want to make special note, you know, I'm part of the retirees club. 4 members of your city council are now retired. But there's one woman that has to get up early in the morning and work late in the evening because she has a boss and a career, and that's Liza Normandy, and she took her vacation days to be with us at the Biotechnology Center, and you just need to know her commitment has just been on a level we've not seen in the past. So I wanted to thank her personally for her efforts. We had a booth, so when Liza Normandy is at the counter, young men seem to gravitate very rapidly to that counter. So it worked out great. I don't know what the trick was, but anyway, it was a great week. So we have the largest biotechnology center in the world. There are 20,000 biotech professionals working in South San Francisco. With the growth we've talked about, we're looking at a doubling of that over the years. We have the largest commercial zone center on the San Francisco Peninsula. We have 45% of the commercial area in the county is located in South San Francisco, and we have to give kudos to past councils and maybe the trustees that set up South San Francisco, because that was negotiated when South San Francisco became a city in 1908 down in Redwood City. There was a strong contingent of county supervisors that wanted to keep the Bay Side for the county. So they didn't prevail, and it's worked out wonderfully for us. We were talking earlier about assessed valuation, and the numbers are just really remarkable. So the town is about $16 billion worth of assessed valuation. So all the homes, all the businesses, all the industry, $16 billion is where we grab that property tax revenue. 44% of the entire assessed valuation of South San Francisco is east of 101 and growing. We still celebrate our legacy companies. As I mentioned earlier, everybody around the world enjoys our See's candy, and we were handing boxes to special people that we met when we were in San Francisco. We've talked earlier about Genentech. They're celebrating their 40th year, and I don't think anybody thought we would be at the place we are after those 4 decades. Besides Verily, which we mentioned, Calico. Calico is one of the companies that's what Art Levinson is running with, I think, $250 million put in by Google, and they're making noise all over the world. We have some great internet companies. I'm sure you've all gotten the postcard to get 1 free meal with the meal you order through Munchery. Haven't tried it yet, but it looks pretty interesting. Stitch Fix. For all those people that get to the point in life where they're having trouble with their wardrobe, I think this is just for women. You can take a test and they'll send you outfits until they break your bank. But it's the internet. We've got some great family-owned businesses. I hope you enjoyed the downtown Christmas decorations more this year than you have in the past. And that was a local company that creates decorations for shopping centers around North America. In addition to that, their little sideline, and they're built right here, are carousels, some unique carousels that you can find in Germany and Japan. And so a lot of the businesses that we have are kind of under the radar. And then we remember some of the old legacy businesses. Bronstein Music celebrated their 75th, I think, or 80th. And they go back to 1946. If I had done the math, I probably would have been better on the years. And I remember Milt and Celia Bronstein. Milt was, in the World War, was General Patton's band leader, and these were just wonderful South San Franciscans. They are gone, but their Bronstein Music, their legacy lives on. We've got food innovators, robotic startups, still our distribution warehouses are humming. We now have what many who are new to the community. Sometimes we tend to be our own worst critics, right, as a community, but people that come to town really find our downtown charming. And we haven't heard that for a long time. In the last year, we've seen a dozen new restaurants. Just today, I took my father. He wanted to check out Cafe 382. So here's the plug, 382 Grand Avenue. Pretty spectacular time when the restaurateur decides that he's going to have outdoor dining on Grand Avenue. But it works. There are heat lamps, and the wind doesn't whip around and catch you. So it's pretty successful. Also in South San Francisco, there are 2 restaurants that received Michelin recommendations. So the Shahada family owns Amora on 700 block of Linden Avenue, and then the Flavis Jamaican Grill, which is closer to Grand Avenue. If you haven't tried them, you need to try them. If you don't get downtown, you need to start, because it's not just the wonderful food types. It's they're all priced right. It's just great to be in South San Francisco. The city of South San Francisco, if you understand our history, has always had a reputation for being progressive and innovative. The city and the staff remain committed to our businesses, but more importantly to the community and the residents, because the strength, the success of the businesses is what allows us to provide the level of services that we can to the community and our residents. And I want to tell you that from Mike Futrell on through the administration, we have gentlemen and women who are committed to making South San Francisco the ultimate place that it can be, maximizing every opportunity. The workload has been terrific, but the possibility for continued success, I think we're at a high water mark. So I'd like to just close by thanking my colleagues, the City Council. I think this is the hardest working City Council on the peninsula. And thank the staff, because it's no longer a 9-to-5 job. I was getting help with this speech tonight as far as some of the facts and figures that do not come readily to me by Leslie Arroyo, who was driving back from her little Tahoe place on Sunday afternoon. She was in the car helping me with this. Most especially, I want to thank you. I wanted this kind of a turnout. In the past, we've spoken to a lot of business people at State of the Cities, but too many just staff and not enough residents. So this is the kind of evening I enjoy. This is the reason I got involved in government so many years ago. And I just really need to thank all of you for being here this evening and for participating, because it's your efforts that are helping us make South San Francisco the very best place that it can be. So thank you for joining me.